What's up, guys? Welcome to another video. Today is Tuesday the 14th of April. I'm going to be going over how I lost a little bit over $1,900 today. I took two trades and I lost both. Wanted to take a third trade, but unfortunately when I was passing my 100k account, I risked double, and I didn't realize that that gets you put on a risk management plan, I think it's called. And so if I lose two trades and I lose over 1% combined, then I can't take another trade for the day. So normally I would maybe allow myself to take three trades if price action was good, but unfortunately, until I get another two payouts, I won't be able to take three trades in a day if I lose the first two. So going into the day, I wanted to kind of just mark out this 1 hour gap. Just keep this in mind. I'm going to delete it, but there's a 1 hour gap here that was pushing price up. There's external liquidity above here, but honestly, with all this movement, I kind of wanted to see a pullback because once again, you don't want to go long in the top half of a zone. It's just not really efficient. So yeah, if we drop down to the 15-minute, you can see that price was kind of choppy for a while, but we did get to sweep right here, which I can go into a little bit more in terms of, getting double sweeps and that sort of thing. There's a little tiny 15-minute gap right here, which I don't really need to mark out. But if we keep dropping lower, you can see that there's more structure on the smaller time frames, which is very helpful in terms of, trading and taking entries on, smaller time frames. But this is the level that I wanted to target if price presented itself to. It's about the, or actually it's I think it's London low, yeah. So something to mind, or something to keep in mind with these trades that I took today, are they're not exactly the best setups. And I think I kind of forced them a little bit, but that's why we go over this. That's why I review it. So if we drop to the 1 minute, you can see that there's news at 7:30, or there's a big spike here. There's news at 7:30, but we sweep out that news candle, and then we sweep out this high again. So we get our double sweep, right? So now I'm looking for displacement in order to take a short to these lows, potentially London lows. But this is right at open, or right before open. So it's like, all right, it kind of sucks because, you have your A plus setup with displacement, but it's not really at the right time. So, kind of sucks. But so price came down, and this is at open. And so you can see if we go back here, um, price had opened, this is what it looked like. There were resting lows below, and you can see price comes up. So at this point, like, this is my model, we sweep this high, we sweep this high, this becomes your change of state of delivery. So now I'm looking to target based on this, which normally I wouldn't do. But since I liked this setup, I was kind of blind to the fact that I probably shouldn't take something like this, and that I don't take something like this normally. Yeah, like I said, this is the internal model. If we go to the 5 minute, you can see that there was this 5 minute gap that got ran through. And so I was pretty bearish, leading into open, right after open. So you can see that price comes up, we get into this area of the fair value gaps and all that. And then we put in a high, we sweep that high, and then immediately we come down, and at this point, typically I'm a little skeptical because, I want to see price immediately come down, immediately like reverse through that and get the change in the state of delivery. But I wait, and then we get displacement here, but it's still a little bit after the fact, combined with the fact that, we do have these highs that could maybe get taken, because, really be taking entries, directly after open or based off of opening price. But so you can see that price comes up, puts in a high, sweeps that high. Then we have this change in the state of delivery. Now the problem with this is, one, like I said, we didn't come push through this right away. We kind of chopped around before displacing two. And two, this is based on this model, which is already playing out, which once we take this low, technically the model is invalid because anything could happen. But I ended up taking a short on this fair value gap that gets formed, right? And stop there, and I move my TP all the way to London low here. And I want to see all of these lows get swept at the same time because that's typically what price will do. But my goal was to move my stop to break even once we take this final low and see if we want to continue down. But what happens is price comes down and sweeps out this low, but immediately after we sweep the low, we basically just reverse. And so realistically, I should have moved my stop to break even on this first sweep just to prevent loss. Because realistically, if we wanted to take all three of these lows, we would do it at the same time, or we would do it soon after taking this. But you can see price just kind of comes up and I end up taking a loss that could have been completely avoided. So that was the first loss. I lost like 950 bucks, I think. So I'm now waiting to see if this high wants to get taken. And so you can see that, we come down, and we do sweep the high, right? And then we immediately displace lower. And so now I'm waiting for a short to see, okay, do we want to come down? We end up sweeping this high, we swept the high that we put in. What really wants to happen here is, we're gonna come up here to a certain point, and then I want to take a short down to probably these lows at this point. So you can see that, price continues to move around. It goes up, right? But here's where I went wrong. We made equal highs here. And so, with these equal highs, typically that's a pretty strong draw on liquidity. But with all of this displacement, I basically considered this to be the change in the state of delivery, even though it's technically one candle. And I ended up going short, like right here, with a 5 pip stop. Oops. And I wanted to target this low, right? The problem with this is you want to wait for a sweep. You don't want equal highs, and you don't want to use this as your change in the state of delivery. But I think I really wanted to make back the loss that I had earlier on the day, which almost never happens. And this was kind of almost a revenge trade in terms of, the setup was not there yet. So, and the way that I thought about it was I was like, okay, if these highs get swept, we won't go so high as to, stop me out and I'll get a good entry. Well, the thing is, price did go that high and I did get stopped out. And then what proceeded to happen was this exact move. And this literally went all the way down to sweep the lows. So if we look here, you can see came all the way down, swept the lows. And so this is an example of not really over trading, I would say, and that's not a good word, but not being patient and feeding into what isn't actually there. Because technically speaking, this would be the change in the state. And it wouldn't even be technically a change in the state of delivery because we never swept this high out. So I should have known that price wanted to do some bullshit and come back up, sweep everything out, and then go lower. But I guess I was kind of clouded today. And so, yeah, I ended up taking 2 losses, like I said, the one from earlier and then this one. Could have been completely avoided. Now, this would have been the third trade that I took, considering we swept this high. I would have entered around here somewhere. Got a decent entry, picked up 2 to 2.5 R. Probably been green on the day. But, with the 2 trade rule, it kind of just sucks. But I got to deal with that at the moment. It's not the worst thing in the world because there's a lot of days where I don't take 2 losses. But yeah, just it's part of trading, and you got to get through it and stay mentally balanced. And we'll be back tomorrow. I think there's news again, but hopefully we'll take some good trades. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. It's a pretty good analysis today of what not to do. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, subscribe. If not, it's cool. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.